Hey everyone, Mike Hagon at the Hagon Jones Homestead. Today I'm going to try my hand at making live edge charcuterie boards. One of the scores I found when we bought the place here was a whole stack of what looks like maple live edge boards, about a 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 thick. So I'm going to pull one of those out that looks good, sand it down, cut it into boards, see if I can't get three or four charcuterie boards out of one of these sheets of maple. All right, here comes the video. So I found this lovely piece of live edge maple. Looks like about 8 feet long. I don't know, maybe 10 inches wide. There definitely some cracking coming in from both sides, so I will cut this off before I end up sanding it. But looks like a good piece. So obviously the wood doesn't have a perfectly square end here, so I'm just going to try my best to cut off both ends as square as possible. That's one. Oh. You know what, I see some dings in the wood here that's going to be really tough for me to sand out. So I'm actually going to move a little farther up on my line than I was planning. There we go. So now I've got a nice square edge and clean, no splits. I've got roughly 76 inches, let's call it 6 feet. So I think if I was to do, let's say, probably 18-inch boards. So I will measure that after, but first I'm going to get set up and do some sanding. So I got the board clamped down onto my workbench. I'm going to use my Makita belt sander, which actually was a free score. Found this in the barn, buried in some other tools. I've got 80 grit sandpaper on there. There are some rough edges on here, so I'm going to sand those off first. And then I'll move to a 120 and on my way up from there. Oh, almost forgot the mask. Mask is on. Safety first. All right, that's the first sand with the 80 grit. I'm just going to clean it off. Switch the sandpaper over on the Makita and do another coat, or do another sand, not a coat. Bit of a change of plans that I just thought about. I got to sand the other side as well, so I might as well sand it while I have the 80 grit sandpaper on there. So I'm just going to take off my clamps. Oh, give the board a flip. Oh yeah, this side is nice and dirty. That's going to take some work. Clamp her back down. And get at her. Let's switch up the sandpaper. This stuff seems pretty weak, and it's really dirty at this far end, and I want to make sure I get all that off. I actually just scored some 50 grit sandpaper that I found in the back barn. So I'm going to use that to try to get some of these nasty spots out. All right, so that's the 80 grit done. It's still fairly rough. There are definitely some stains and a big knot here that I'll cut out when I cut the boards down to size. But the majority, back half, was all dirty and nasty and looked like it might have had some water damage, and the 80 grit got rid of that. So I'm going to throw the 120 on, give her another sand, and go from there. All right, I got the 120 back on. I used a new piece. The other one was kind of beat up. I'm going to now finish sanding the bottom half, or the bottom side of the live edge cutting boards. And then I think I'm going to stop at 120 for the bottom, flip it over, do another sand to 120, and move on. All right, 120 done. One thing I forgot to do was where I had the clamps on the outside edges, it's still very, very rough. So I've removed the clamp, clamped it once in the middle, and I'll just quickly sand those edges off. All right, looking good. Now I'm going to flip the board over, do the 120 on the top side. So 120 is done on the top side. I'm going to bring out the trusty palm sander, get into some of the little areas here. I don't have any big sheets or belt sheets of anything finer than 120. So I'm going to use the mouse sander for the 120 and the 220. All right, so that's the 180 done. It is very smooth. I will hit it one more time with the 220, and then we're going to cut them down into size and finish them off. So 180 is done, and once again we've got the large sheet here of the nice sanded down live edge maple. Now, I had read some articles and some other online places saying to take the bark off. I don't know, this stuff is pretty solid. So I think I'm gonna leave it on and see what happens. All right, I'm gonna measure these out and cut them down to size. So you can see the pencil marks on here. There are some nicks that you just won't be able to see with the camera. So what I've decided to do is I'm gonna do 124 inch, 118 inch, and then finish off with another 24 inch right to the end of the board. And I'll cut that down right now. All right, here we go. Let's do some cuts. And then we're gonna cut out this nasty part in the middle here. See, it had a knot and some dings. Look how big it is in the backside. Yeah, not too great. So that's one board. There Just got that. That's two. And then I just want to cut this nasty end off. There we go, 3 boards. So this is one of the 24-inch boards that I'm going to be making. But when I got really close, I don't know if you can see, oops, the dings here. So I'm going to clamp it down on the far side and run some of that 80 grit sandpaper over the back half of this board, then the 120, and then the 180 again. see if I got it. That should do it. You can see I kind of went back and forth and all the way through just to kind of, so it doesn't have a dip in the finished product. All right, now the 180. Okay, give that a clean. Do the edge here that I couldn't get. Oh yeah, there we go. So I will give you a little. So there's one of the 24-inch boards. As you can see, it's baby smooth. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pick a corner, probably over here, and I'm gonna get one of my hole saws and I'm gonna cut a 1-inch hole for a handle. So I'm gonna cut a 1-inch hole here, and what I'm gonna do is I wanna have about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch on either side. So I'm gonna go in 1 3/4 and 1 3/4. And that'll be the center of my hole, and it'll be 1 inch around from there. Okay, so you know what I found is I found a 1 1/2 inch hole saw. And I think that's just a bigger, nicer opening. So I moved everything into a 2-inch center. And I've learned that I need to only go halfway to start. So get the hole halfway. Flip the board over. You can see your hole over here, so you know where to go. Let's double clamp it. Hate for it to fly off in my face. And then finish off the hole. So as you can see, it makes a nice hole, a little bit of fraying, but not so much. When I first built one of these a year ago, I just went right through, and man, did it shatter the back half. So I got a little bit of 120 here. I'm just gonna get in here and give it a good sand. So, all done. I'm going to take this up to the house. I've got some natural cutting board oil that I'm going to spread on here. I'll probably do 1 coat right now, and then let it sit for about 24 hours. Put another coat on, and do the same. Probably 3 coats before I'm done and all good. I won't do the rest of them because I did cut 3 boards. I won't do the rest of them on camera, but you get a gist of what I got going here. One thing I love to do for cleanup of the sawdust is a little spritzer bottle like this. I won't do it all, but it gets the sawdust to kind of a little bit heavier so it doesn't float. And then I have my trusty watering can. I learned this from the barn. And just kind of wet the ground a bit. And then that way when I sweep, I'm not inhaling the dust again. Get the sides. Again, this is just the first coat, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. And there we go. And then, like I said, I'll buff this out with a paper towel and maybe a microfiber rag in about 24 hours, and then do another coat. Let me make sure I get that all the way. So I let the board and the first coat of the butcher block oil soak in for 48 hours instead of 24 to give it a good real coating. I've got my microfiber rag and I'm just going to clean off the excess from the top side. And then I'm going to flip the board over and apply the same amount to the bottom side. And I'll update again when I have it all done and I'm doing the final buff. Just finished cleaning off the last coat of the butcher block conditioner. This board is done, looking fantastic. You can see it really shows the grains and darkens up that live edge. Just a beautiful finished product. Thank you so much for watching the Hagon Jones Homestead video on how to make a live edge cutting board. It's absolutely fantastic finished product, really happy with it. I've made a few of these before, but this one really stands out. It's got some good color to it. Again, I want to thank you for watching the Hagon Jones Homestead. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Going to be tons of videos, just waiting for the snow to clear. And we'll be out there on the homestead making it lovely. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.